I now call the March 1st, 2022 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Councilwoman Salisbury will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll give us the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the many opportunities that are ours. We're grateful for the town of Riverton and for the opportunity to serve. We're grateful for the people in the city and the surrounding area, and we ask you to watch over us that we might have thy spirit to be with us, especially at this time when others are at war, that we might be sympathetic and able to have a kind heart and see where we could help and push things forward. We're grateful for this great country that we live in and for the Constitution that we live under. We're grateful for our first responders, grateful for our police officers and firefighters and our highway patrol and our sheriff's deputies. We ask you to watch over them, that they'll be kept safe from harm and accident. We're grateful for the workers of the city. Ask you to be with them, that they might make wise decisions. We're grateful for the beautiful weather that we enjoyed today and recognize thy hand in all things. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the city clerk please conduct roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Here.
Councilwoman Lindsay Cox.
Here.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilwoman Christy Salisbury.
Here.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Here. Dean called he texted me in today's reality and said he wasn't going to make it this evening, and he was in the air, so he couldn't call in, so we need to excuse him tonight. So the chair would entertain a motion to excuse Councilman Paronto.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson has the motion. Councilwoman Cox has the second. Any discussion? I'd like to know why he doesn't take us with him. Anybody know? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say nay. Motion passes. I declare we have a quorum present. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman thank you. Councilwoman Borders has the motion, and Councilman Bailey has the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is scheduled for a public hearing will be given an opportunity to speak during that public hearing. Anyone wishing to address the council on any other item may speak now. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Thought the chief was going to talk to us there for just a second. We'll move on to the consent agenda items. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, February 15th, 2022, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, March 1st, 2022, Finance Committee meeting. Approval of the Finance Committee recommendations for March 1st, 2022.
Thank you. Are there any items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor, the Finance Committee met earlier this evening and approved the consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $196,098.66, payroll and liabilities for February 11th, 22 in the amount of $218,380.83, for a total of $414,479.49.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
So moved. Second.
Councilman Salisbury has the motion and Councilwoman Borders has the second. Council discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Consideration of ordinance number 22-002 on second reading, 2021 ICC code adoption. Community Development Director's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. At the last City Council staff meeting, there was a request for a staff report regarding requesting the review of fire suppression systems in commercial applications. It was the request to review what the possibility of omission from code or some or all of the code relating to fire suppression systems in commercial applications. After a good bit of research and conversations with state fire marshal representatives on 2/24, it was clearly discovered that it's not possible to omit directly or indirectly fire suppression from code on commercial building applications. Wyoming State Statute 35-9-121A subset I states, before a municipality or county without local enforcement authority is initially granted local enforcement authority for fire, building, existing building standards, or electrical standards, the state fire marshal shall determine that the local governing body has adopted minimum standards by ordinance or resolution that are equivalent to or more stringent than those applicable standards adopted by the department. So, as how that's stated with IBC being currently adopted by the state, we don't have the ability to make rules or regulations less stringent than what the state regulates.
Thank you. Is that good, Kyle?
It's the way it is.
All right.
Your Honor, my only question would be then why do we even have to approve them if we don't have any choice?
Well, they like,
It's a rhetorical
yeah,
question.
they like to pin it on us when they say, when they say, why do we have this rule? Your local council passed it because they want to stick it on somebody. They don't want to have to answer for it. So it is disappointing. So we'll look into that just a little bit further, see what we can find. Tony and I went down and we even saw those guys. They actually exist. It wasn't like the Wizard of Oz. They actually were in their room. So we'll talk about that a little later. That's how these guys get me to skip you. They get me confused, don't they? Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 22-002 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 22-002 on second reading, an ordinance amending Title 15 Buildings and Construction Codes to revise Chapter 15.04 Building Construction and Maintenance Codes, Section 15.04.010, Adoption, Applicability, Filing, and Section 15.04.040, Local Design Criteria and Loadings of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 22-002 on second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Lindsay Cox, Councilwoman Cox has the motion and Councilwoman Salisbury has the second. Discussion. So I guess that's why they put discussion on here. The way they do that is they took that, they've learned to, instead of take these to the municipalities where they can turn them down, they've taken them to the legislature.
Well, yeah.
And the legislature they do everything in a 5-minute span. I'd hate to play a baseball game with them. It'd be speed, wouldn't it? And so what they do is they pass that rule at the legislature, and then we lose local control. And so what we probably ought to do is pay attention to the legislative a little bit better. Because when they present it at the legislature, they just present it as who's in favor of health and safety, and who's going to oppose health and safety, right? So that's why we got 13 airbags and seat belts and everything else. So I would just encourage us to pay attention to that, and that's how those rules get in place without anybody being able to discuss them locally. Anybody else have any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
1,
Aye.
2. Those opposed,
Nay?
Nay.
nay. 4. Motion failed. Contract award for wastewater treatment plan, the MCC and the RAS upgrade. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is tied to the action you took at your last business meeting. I won't go through the full rundown of the project and what the components are, as I think you're up to speed. However, at your last meeting, you did select Timberline as the professional integrator for this project and directed staff to negotiate a scope of work and fee. We've done that. That scope of work is included in your staff report, and I'll just briefly cover some of those items. It includes the replacement of existing PLC. And again, that's the programmable logic control, which helps basically the computer talk to the pumps and everything that's necessary to run the plant. It removes obsolete controllers and gauges on the Motor Control Center, or the MCC, and it updates with a new and programmable display. It replaces the level indicators for the RAS and scum pits, which are true terms. It also replaces one of the RAS pumps and a new VFD and a new meter on that RAS pump. It does cover materials, taxes, and consulting fees, and we also put in there a contingency of $12,000 in the scope of work. As a reminder, this is similar to a design-build project. We call it an integrator project, but basically this allows us to have some leeway that if in the design and build portion of these improvements we find that there's necessary changes that need to be made, we can be nimble and work with that integrator to get it done. And that's, again, covered in row 5 of your staff report. And then we also included a new display for the SCADA upgrade. And it says if budget allows, and we were able to negotiate that within the budget that we have currently. The total fees for the scope briefly covered during this report is $163,831. The budget that we have in fiscal year 22 for this project is $165,000. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the scope of work and fees for Timberline Electrical and Control Corporation, Timberline, as a motor control center, the MCI, and the return activated sludge, the RAS upgrade project.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson has the motion. Councilman Bailey has the second. Further discussion?
Your Honor.
Please.
Kyle, on these controllers that are dated back to 1985, wouldn't we expect an actual improvement in the discharge because of these?
Your Honor, not necessarily in the discharge rate, but in the ability of the system to integrate and work together well. In 1985, it was designed to have many of these components, for lack of a better term, talk to one another and let one system know when to turn on and turn off. Over the course of time, those systems have basically wore out, and in the case of the sludge and scum pit, we're actually relying on a float rather than the sensors that are in there now or as designed in the 80s. And so to answer your question, we don't necessarily change the amount of treatment or outflow, but we return to what was intended in the 80s, but then we also have the improvement of new technology on top of that, just to ensure that these components properly work together to ensure the treatment happens. We don't lose the microorganisms that are necessary to treat, and then we also are able to discharge at an appropriate rate.
Thank you.
Kyle, you understood that?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, good.
I ran an acid plant like this once before, but those controllers are gonna work better than they ever have. It's just like saying your newer car is not gonna get any better gas mileage because of the fuel injection versus carburation, and it's just better. And it's safer and should be more cost effective, but I'm not gonna say that.
And it's not on that float,
Yeah.
which is even better. I understood that part.
Honor, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but we have been scared at times that that float would fail and then we'd have significant issues. And we are looking forward to the efficiencies in the new technology.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Public hearing and consideration of ordinance number 22-003, first reading on annex of the Riverview Cove. Community Development Director's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The petitioner, Henry Hill Oil Services LLC, is requesting plat and annexation of the Riverview Cove subdivision. Landowners neighboring the Riverview Cove subdivision were not affected by potential new city limits, as they are already within 1/2 mile of the city limit areas. Utility reviews were sent to all utilities with no objections to easements, as they are. A development agreement with the petitioner has already been signed by the petitioner. The city planning commission recommended certification on February 17th, 2022 planning commission meeting. Alternatives for today would be not certify the plat in addition, or to certify the plat in addition with amendments or stipulations. There is no immediate budget impact resulting from the staff recommendation, and the recommendation is that the city council adopt on first reading ordinance number 22-003, Riverview Cove subdivision annexation.
Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 22-003 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 22-003 on first reading. An ordinance annexing the Riverview Cove subdivision, Fremont County, Wyoming, not previously annexed to the city of Riverton, designating the zoning classification of the parcel and amending the zoning map to reflect the same, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson has the motion. Councilman Bailey has the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. I now declare a public hearing open. The public hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statute and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium. Identify yourself for the record.
My name is Lisa Woolsey, and I'm here representing the landowner tonight. And we welcome any input or questions regarding the annexation. I do want to thank everyone for their time tonight and express our desire and appreciation to be considered as a part of Riverton City. We're honored to be so.
Super. Appreciate you coming. Anybody have any questions?
I just have one. It says 4 of the lots are zoned R1 and the lot 1 is commercial.
Right. And the reason for that is the overhead power easement and the strange angle of that lot. It makes it not very advantageous or marketable to be a residential usable lot for the residential. So we have deemed that to be appropriate for commercial use, and we think it's a good location to do so.
Anybody else? I scanned that quickly. Can anybody show me where the city sewer line is that goes through there? Don't see it noted.
The city sewer line? Yeah, I can,
Shouldn't it be on the plat?
it's on the plat in the existing drainage easement between lots 1 and 2, moving south off of Riverview Road between lots 1 and 2 down to West Charity Court. And then it's inside the road easement on West Charity Court, following east through East Charity Court, and it moves south across Wedge Fike's property.
So it goes clear, does it go down the road all the way to Wedge to lot 5?
Yes, correct. The existing line that was built back when the Riverview.
How come that's not on the map? Well, why didn't you draw an arrow and put a line to it and say the sewer line's right?
There's actually a sewer line drawn on my drawing, it just doesn't apply.
And you just didn't want us to know where our sewer line was, huh?
Well, it's a utility easement that's been allowed for any utility.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions?
I have one question.
Kyle?
How are we gonna get to lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the backyard without a road? We just gonna abandon those lots?
There's a
Yeah. Yeah, Charity. Yeah, Charity Court extends from the, it's existing today in its format in a county road status, but it exists today from the lot line of lots 1 and 2, east to Thomas Drive, and then that's West Charity Court, and then East Charity Court continues east from Thomas Drive to the lot line of lot 4 and 5 from Regal Estates.
Oh, okay, okay.
So there's a spike strip, Kyle, that lays on Augusta that Cape Martin owns. That got noted on the plan. So that keeps them from entering Augusta.
Okay,
The road lies to the south of all the lots in this subdivision,
okay,
and then it goes out on that Thomas Drive.
okay.
Are these roads to county spec or
The roads are currently built to county spec.
for minimum
What spec that would, whatever the county would require.
for the 5-lot description of road, or for the 10-lot description?
There's a subdivision, the county subdivision in the south, which is south of Charity Court, and there's 5 lots there, and those were all developed in 2009, somewhere in there. And that road was constructed at that time to access those lots.
Yeah.
So I would assume there too, the county spec for 5-parcel development.
Correct, they are.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Wait,
Your Honor.
I'll go back.
Okay.
I know where I'm at. Thank you very much. I'm in the court, or the council chambers, aren't I?
Yes.
What we need to do is close the public hearing, so there being no other speakers, the chair would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson has the motion, Councilwoman Borders has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. The chair would entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 22-003 on first reading, annex of the Riverview Cove.
So moved.
second.
Councilwoman Borders has a motion, and Councilwoman Cox has a
Who's me?
second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passed. The bid award for Sunset Drive Improvement Projects, Phase 1. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm pleased to bring this to you as this is our first project out of the 1% committee for this upcoming construction season. As you know, the Sunset Drive project has been in consideration by the committee for some time and has also been under design for about a year now. Sunset Drive exhibits degrading asphalt and requires utility upgrades and also the coordinated improvement of the Armstrong lateral. And after we've gone through the design process, it was determined to break this project into 2 phases. The first phase covers from Federal Boulevard to Valley Circle. The second phase will extend from Valley Circle to North 8th West. This is only considering Phase 1 of the Sunset Drive project. A request for bids was advertised for 3 weeks in the Riverton Ranger. It was also made available on publicpurchase.com. Bids were publicly received and opened on February 16th, 2022, and we had the following results. 71 Construction submitted a bid in the amount of $2,232,657. High Country Construction submitted a bid in the amount of $2,312,000 and $719. Excuse me. I hope you followed that. And then Jerry Bornhoff Construction submitted a bid in the amount of $2,492,912. After reviewing the bids for responsiveness to specifications, WHS, our design consultant, and staff recommend the project be awarded to the low bidder, 71 Construction. From a budget impact standpoint, there are funds sufficient in the 1% account to cover this phase of construction. Currently, there is a balance of $2,989,852. Once we subtract our existing obligations, there's available balance of $2,828,290. Looking forward, as you know, Force has prioritized a couple other projects to draw upon that account. That includes a pavement improvement project on Major Avenue. And then we are still exploring Davis Lane as a project, and then obviously Phase 2 of this Sunset Drive project. As a point of information, the 1% fund has generated an average of $193,422.07 each month in fiscal year 22. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to award Sunset Drive Improvement Project to 71 Construction in the amount of $2,232,657.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has a motion. Carla, was that you? Councilwoman Borders has the second. Further discussion? Am I the only one? And I know I got some updates, and I spoke with Kyle about Tony about this, and he set me straight. But all the information I keep getting has High Country lower in bid price than 71. I have $2,323,657, and then I have High Country's bid at $2,312,719.
Your Honor, I can address that.
Excuse me.
I can address that if
Oh, good. Would you?
When the staff report was prepared and sent out with the rest of the packet on Friday, there was a typo and an error in those figures. What had happened is Brendan and I had worked on the staff report, and we had a figure listed for 71 Construction, but it was a figure they submitted at the time of the opening, but not the figure after we had reviewed the bids and tabulated everything and made sure the math was correct. There was a slight change in the amount of about $1,000. And so in an effort to change that, we had made a mistake and made a typo on that staff report. We made note of that, and Tish was able to send an amended staff report yesterday to the council and the members of the media. And so the updated staff report with the correct numbers was sent yesterday. Essentially, the original one had inverted numbers. Instead of reading 2,232,000, it read 2,323,000. So the twos and the threes were inverted. We sent that correction on Monday and apologize for that typo.
And I think, at least I thought it was on the second version of that, but my numbers keep coming up that same way, so I must not be there. But the bid that I read is correct, right? On my script, of 2,232,657 is correct.
Your Honor, that is correct. That's the submitted bid price, and it includes the update to the slight mathematical error in their bid that we found after the tabulation.
Super. Appreciate that. So we're just not very far over the engineer's estimate. That's at 2,184,000.
Your Honor, that's correct, and that was updated just prior to the advertisement of bids.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Approval of fiscal year 2023 budget calendar. City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. As we do always this time of year, we're bringing forward the budget calendar as that process is kicking off as we speak. Looking at the budget calendar that is presented to you, it has been reviewed by staff, and we have already begun the advertisement for the community service contracts. That has gone out and has been even on our Facebook page, I believe. And so we will continue to accept those all the way through this month. So if there are individuals or groups that fall within that request category, please remind them if you see them. The items before you were presented to you for approval, largely because we advertise a lot of these meetings for potential quorum. Doesn't mean everybody is required to attend, simply that if there's the possibility, in order to think ahead, we say, okay, these are some of the meetings that could have the potential quorum of council, therefore if the media wishes to attend, they may attend. This is not the entirety of the meetings. We never get through, we don't set a plan this far out without having a couple changes during the middle. If we have, if these meetings get moved or the like, we do notice those both to the council and to the media, as per the usual. And then there are smaller meetings that happen throughout with staff, just trying to make sure our numbers are straight or that we're working through some of our math. And those are usually not publicly attended and are not on our calendar, but become part of that ongoing conversation. Your Honor, having been reviewed and presented, we would recommend approval of the budget calendar for fiscal year 23.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the budget calendar as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Larson has the motion. Councilwoman Salisbury has the second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Fee proposal for Davis Lane Design. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before you is amendment number 3 to the agreement for engineering services with HDR Engineering. And as a reminder, this contract or agreement for engineering services pertains to 2 streets, Gannett Drive and Davis Lane. And really originated out of the Forest Committee, and then the City Council has obviously been involved as we've worked through improvements and planned improvements for both of these streets. The Fix Our Road Citizen Committee prioritized improvements for these streets and requested staff to engage the services of an engineering firm clear back in October of 2016. After that direction, staff prepared a request for qualification, advertised, interviewed, and was able to rate consultants. The City Council later agreed that HDR would be selected for the consultant for this project, and the agreement, the aforementioned agreement, was executed on April 17th, 2017. And again, this was to engineer solutions for both Gannett Drive and Davis Lane. Due to the complexity of the problems and the unknown variables associated with each of these streets, and a lot of that had to do with the subsurface issues of groundwater, the project for engineering was broken into two phases, a preliminary phase and then the final engineering phase. The preliminary phase included public outreach, monitoring wells, infrastructure assessment, right-of-way investigation, and the development of baseline design recommendation and alternative design recommendations for staff and force to consider. These efforts culminated February 8th, 2018, when HDR presented a technical memo with their findings and recommendations. Force and city staff reviewed HDR's technical memo at several meetings throughout the 2018 calendar year. As part of that review, Force members individually rated baseline and alternative recommendations related to HDR's work, and they prioritized them for what would be included in that final engineering design phase. City staff then negotiated a scope of work and fee and presented it to the City Council for approval, and that was approved on April 16th, 2019. During the final engineering phase, it was determined that Gannett Drive would be prioritized and improved prior to Davis Lane. Consequently, HDR focused their efforts on Gannett Drive so that we could produce plans, specifications, and bid documents. This culminated in March 25th, 2020, when those plans were finalized, and then, as you know, a project was advertised for bid in April of that year and completed in October of 2020. After the completion of Gannett Drive, HDR resumed the final engineering phase for Davis Lane. During this process, several community members approached Force about drainage and flooding concerns along that street. These issues were initially considered by HDR during their preliminary phase back in 2017. However, 7 of 8 Force committee members at the time, when they were rating the technical memo, opposed the inclusion of storm improvements along Davis Drive, so it was not included in the negotiated scope and fee for the final design phase. After again hearing from Davis Lane community members, Force decided to resolve this storm drainage and flooding issue. Staff subsequently negotiated a scope of work and fee to address the issues that was handled through Amendment Number 2 to the agreement. And that was approved by the city on May 12th, 2021. That amendment proposed diverting storm flows generated on the highway and some on Davis Lane down, what I should say is away from 115 Davis Lane, and then diverting it to a drainage ravine located behind 2205 West Main Street, the previous property of Mayor Lars Baker. Unfortunately, after exploring ways to implement this design, it was determined unfeasible. Alternatives to address the drainage problem were then explored over the course of several months with staff, HDR, and the Force Committee. In fact, this Davis Lane project has been a standing agenda item for, I would say, over a year and a half. And we appreciate the Force members and their expertise as they've worked with us to find ways to handle the problems that have been presented. Amendment 3, which is before you tonight, addresses an alternative solution to the drainage problem that I've already talked about. What it does is it explores the viability of diverting storm flows at 137 Davis Lane to an existing ditch that serves as an overflow to the lower recreation pond or the duck pond at that same address. Specifically, it includes topographical survey, drainage easement exhibits, hydraulics, hydrology, plans and profile sheets, and basically the engineering necessary to see if this option works, and then to include it into our bid package and plan sheets for this project. In addition to resolving some of the drainage concerns, Amendment 3 also includes proposed cul-de-sac design changes. Currently, at the end of Davis Lane, the southern end, there is no turnaround. In fact, the right-of-way associated with Davis Lane actually ends at 148 and 149 Davis Lane. Public access to 2202 and 2201 does not exist. Moreover, the owners of 2201 do not have legal access or easement to their property since it is controlled by the property owners of 2202 Davis Lane. This hasn't currently created a problem. However, in 20 years down the line, we want to ensure that this doesn't exist, especially if any of those individuals plan to sell their home. It's better to show that there is public access to their home. HDR has prepared right-of-way documents to correct this issue and to construct an appropriate public and emergency vehicle turnaround at the southern end of the lane. The proposed amendment, again, I said, addresses this in that in conversations and as we've worked with the property owners of 2201 and 2202, we may make some geometry adjustments to the current cul-de-sac design. There's an opportunity to shrink it and also, I think, meet the needs of the impacted property owners. So again, this amendment will allow us to do that. From a budget standpoint, amendment number 3 totals $22,654.74. If approved, it will be paid from the 1% fund, which again has a current balance after subtracting obligations of $2.8 million and change. However, with the bid award that you just went through, right now the unobligated amount available in the 1% fund is $597,063. And that again will accrue month over month at the rate previously communicated to you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve amendment number 3 to the agreement for engineering services with HDR Engineers, Inc., HDR, and to give sectorial authority to the Public Works.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Bailey has the motion and Councilwoman Borders has the second. Further discussion? This is kind of a sticky wicket, and I don't know that as I saw the amendment, I wondered how much water flow we got extra. Who was pouring more water in our ditches? But it's obvious that this has other implements. We have both homeowners in the audience. Does anybody want to give us their side of that? Want to stay with what we got? I was wondering if Pat was going to sell you back your house.
You have multiple homeowners on Davis Lane here. Dave doesn't get out of this. I'm Bethany Baldus, and property owner at 2201 Davis Lane. We're excited for this project and that the city has stuck with this for as long as they have, and the commitment from the Forest Committee. The city has done a really good job of working with us as far as making as Kyle said, making the proper adjustments to the impact on our property from the turnaround at the bottom of the street, and hopefully we can get this figured out through the amendment. So we just appreciate your guys' continued support and hope that we can all come to an agreement. Thank you.
Kyle?
Stephanie, don't go away.
Bethany.
Where does the water go? That storm water, where does that flow past your house? Where does that go?
Everywhere.
Yeah, but it goes down into the field, or?
Yep. So, so currently what happens is it drains down between Bob Davis's home and Paskett's home and comes down the street and just free flows. It drops down at 149 Davis Lane down their driveway. Sorry, I don't know the street numbers. So, what would that one be, Bob? What,
I could help.
It's the 3 bottom houses, Kellogg's, 149 and 2201. And it just floods everything along there. It eventually gets out to the field, but at this point in time, I'm planning on opening a paddleboard business this summer and teaching people how to paddleboard in front of our house during the 3 events that usually happen every year.
We only get one big rain a year.
So I think that that's kind of one of the misconceptions that has happened, though, is that this isn't just the big once in 100 year storms. We usually have at least 2 that does this. Anytime there's any kind of hail or any amount of water that gets onto the highway, it does affect all 3 properties at the bottom of the hill. It doesn't have to be a giant storm to start flooding stuff out down there. Luckily, the road degrading has created a great base for me to build dams to protect my property from having as much damage. And the longer the project takes, the city will be saving money because there's not going to be a lot of road base left to replace the road. So,
We won't have to dig up anything, huh?
so.
Wash the whole street down to the
Just
bottom.
washing it all down into the field, it's good. We did, and we could do it again for any city council members who are curious as the process goes. Right now, the current plan is a proposed 100-foot cul-de-sac at the bottom of the road. It doesn't really fit in the space. We got spray paint out and painted the circle. We would prefer to see an 80 or 85-foot cul-de-sac at the bottom because there's just not enough room and it impacts our property quite a bit. So if anybody would like to come down and walk through that with us, we'd be more than happy to do that. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
But this solution fits your,
That's part of the design. That's part of what they're having to go through and redesign.
but this is okay with you guys, your current property owners.
When the new plans are created, I think that we will be able to come to an agreement. The ones that are currently laid in front of us as property owners, we are not okay with. So the ones that got approved in 2019 impact our property pretty significantly. So this current amendment is to go in and try to fix some of those concerns that we have and hopefully be able to come up with an agreement.
I can give that, and we do have we have 2 engineers in the room also if we need their assistance. The highway daylighted a drain from the highway right behind Bob Davis's house and Dave Paskett's house, and it just daylights there. And it doesn't even make Davis Lane. It has to run through Bob's backyard and Dave's driveway to his backyard to get to Davis Lane. And so as of the last force meeting, what we're looking at is capturing that water and taking it off at the lower pond and not distressing the pond. We're not going to go into the pond. They're going to put a drain line ahead of the pond, they hope, and take that across and then daylight it again on the side of the hill. So we'll take off a large portion of the water about midway down the hill above the last 3 houses to the south side of the road. Did I get that somewhat close? Okay, so.
Your Honor, so where will it eventually drain to?
Well, we were trying to keep that quiet. I didn't want to say that out loud. Because it's naturally flowing waters, it will eventually come off the back of the hill and go down off of Dave Miller's property and eventually hit the canal.
Okay.
So if the water stays in the gutters, it would cross across the cul-de-sac that's planned and go over to the drainage that's between Davis's and Peck's property. And there is an underdrain there. It's not very large, but there is an underdrain that goes under the canal and clear over to the drainage that runs laterally to Riverview. So that's not the best choice. And so what we were trying to do is pick it up before it gets to that point and take it off halfway down the hill. And it will run to daylight again on the side of that hill. We used to call that the ice hill when we were kids. because it was solid ice and you could skate from the top to the bottom, and it was very dangerous because the bottom was a canal. But you didn't go any further than the canal. So
But it was fun to jump.
you know, the ambulance could pick you up at the canal if you needed. So, is that correct, engineers in the room?
So the only thing that I would amend to what you said is, currently when the water gets down kind of to the bottom of the hill, at Pat's place there, just past his shop, it's not clear right now if it makes it all the way to that under drain. It just kind of surface drains and spreads out into his field down there. Some of it, I'm sure, gets into the canal right now. So we're basically, in my opinion, kind of just moving it from his field just over. And so I don't know that, my best guess is that it probably is getting in the canal now. We're just shifting where that outfall is. So.
Do we need to help Pat? Sometimes that water gets away wild on the west side of his property that's coming down and goes between his garage and the cul-de-sac. Is there something we can do to stop that?
I'm Pat Hutchison. I'm the owner of 2202 Davis Lane.
And the owner of the other one below you, it sounds like.
I'm sorry?
And the owner to the property to the south of you at the moment, right?
Well, yeah, well, the,
It's just access, right?
yeah, it is. Actually, I've tried to give an easement to that several times, and it hasn't happened yet. So. The water that comes down the draw, I have plans to take care of that, so that's not a problem as far as the city's concerned.
Super.
I just need to do a catch basin and a few overflows so that it can go out into the field in a designed manner rather than just flooding.
So it'll get past your garage now instead of coming in
Yeah, so
front of
it
it.
would be past the garage,
Super.
yeah. And most of that water that comes down through there does end up in the canal.
Don't tell anybody.
I'm sorry?
Don't tell anybody.
It has for years, and I don't think it's going to change.
I think that's the way it's going to go, huh?
That's where it's going to go.
We appreciate it. Kyle, do you have anything to add?
No, Your Honor, I think they've done a great job.
Anybody else? Thanks for the comments. We appreciate it. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Bid award for the U.S. Highway 26 Lighting and Safety Project. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is another one I'm very happy to report on, in that, as you remember, we applied for a grant a little over a year ago to the Transportation Alternative Program to finish the lighting project along North Federal Boulevard. The subterranean infrastructure was installed for decorative light posts moving north of Sunset at the time of the highway reconstruction. We didn't have funds sufficient to do the upright poles. However, we felt that it was the best planning to get the infrastructure in while the highway was tore up. We did receive the grant that we applied for that I mentioned, and have worked with the TAP officials in order to prepare plans. The project was a little bit stalled, just to give you an anecdote, in that when we applied for the grant, we planned to use the environmental review that was completed for the highway reconstruction project. Well, we just missed the deadline of when it had expired. So it had expired. We had to go through the whole NEPA process in order to get environmental clearance, because these are federal dollars that are supporting this project. It wasn't challenging to do. It was just adding time to the project. And a lot of thanks and a lot of credit to Brendan Tolman for navigating that for the city. Once that was received, we were able to prepare plans and put it out to bid. It includes 51 luminaires on those bases that I previously mentioned were installed. We advertised for bids. Again, it was over a 3-week period. Bids were publicly opened on February 23rd, 2022. And we received the following results. Advanced Electric submitted a bid in the amount of $571,047. Boyle Electric in the amount of $662,259.10. Modern Electric in the amount of $658,504. Staff reviewed these bids to assure they were responsive, and in addition, a representative from the TAP program also reviewed them, as that is a requirement as they report to the federal funding agency. They did provide concurrence to our recommendation of award. It should be noted that in light of current manufacturing and supply chain delays, it is anticipated that materials, which have to be Buy America, are about 12 to 16 weeks out at this time. So it's unlikely we'll be able to complete this project this fiscal year, but we'll get the order made if this award happens this evening. The original engineer's estimate for the project, which we did in 2020, was $547,360. We had to adjust that for 2022 cost increases, and that was $590,170. The TAP grant is an 80-20 grant. We applied at the original estimate amount and anticipated a match of $109,472. With the way the bids came in, we have to cover that difference, so that means that the impact on the city's matching funds is an additional $23,687. We do have funds currently in our capital line items from projects we've awarded that have not been as expensive as we anticipated or budgeted, and we also aren't moving forward on one of our projects. So there are funds currently sufficient to cover the $23,000 difference of our matching requirement. It is also possible that we would just cover that in the upcoming fiscal year as we go through the budget process to secure those funds if we felt that was necessary. Because we have the TAP funds, and I think we can, with 100% confidence, cover our matching requirement, staff recommends we award the project to Advanced Electric in the amount previously communicated.
The chair would entertain a motion to award the US Highway 26 highway lighting and safety project to Advanced Electrical Contractors, Inc. in the amount of $571,047.
So moved.
Second.
Councilwoman Cox has the motion, and Councilwoman Borders has the second. Any further discussion?
So where's the last light stop, like before it's right at Webwood is when it ends? Or how far out do they go?
Your Honor, Councilwoman, it's Burger King, just a little bit north of Webwood.
It's Burger King, because we want Burger King lit up.
So if there's a new hospital, will it be,
You have to buy your own.
it'll be what?
You have to buy your own to the hospital.
It won't be that far, is what you're saying.
This has been a project, and I was fortunate enough, and Mayor Wartness is in the room. We were the first ones that were told this wouldn't cost anything. And I think that's been proven incorrect, but we still have lights all the way out. 51 lights, where we used to have 7 on the same stretch of road. So is Advanced Electric local?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I don't have that information offhand. I can look that up.
Boyd's out of Lander and Modern's out of Casper, right? Anybody know that?
Your Honor, I apologize. Could you repeat that?
Boyd Electric is out of Lander and Modern is out of, Boyd is out of Lander and Modern, I think, is out of Casper.
Your Honor, that's correct.
I just didn't know where Advanced was out of.
Your Honor, Google has instructed me that Advanced Electric is out of Casper as well.
Casper also. Okay. We like those guys.
And how long will it take to finish once they start?
Your Honor, Councilwoman, it'll be very quick. All the electrical's in place. It's basically receiving the lights and then putting up the traffic control so we can stand them up, and then wiring it
Wire's in place, is it not?
to the junction box.
It should go pretty quick.
What's that?
It should go pretty quick. Those little green pedestals are trying to protect the conduit that's sticking up out of the ground. So that it should go fairly quick.
I've had more people call me about this issue than, when are the lights gonna be up? So I'm happy they're going up.
They should be shortly. Anybody else?
Your Honor, I just want to mention when I saw it on the agenda, almost see a girl do cartwheels. It's just so exciting, and I'm anxious to see it finished.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Council committee reports and council members roundtable. Kyle, you want to start us off?
Okay. Attended the solid waste on normally it's the third Monday, but because third Monday was a holiday, it was the 23rd. And they reported that the landfill had been completed at Shoshone, that they were holding back the magic 10%, that everything looked good, but that the main concern was the county commissioners were asking them for job descriptions, which they were unsatisfied with because their people, main of their 25 employees are dozer operators, commercial truck drivers, or laborers, all at the same time. And so what the real problem was that a case court in Laramie County, where the city commissioners tried to disband a legally adopted board, failed. They took them to court, and the Supreme Court of State of Wyoming said you don't have the rights to disband that. So there's a bill going through the Senate and the House now that gives the county that authority to disband. And, you know, since they only have $22 million, I kind of think that the real rub is they want to get into somebody's pocket. But anyway, so I made a question. I said, why don't you look at Casper's job descriptions, because they must have similar job ideas. That's what we used to do, steal from somebody else. You just call up PD or one of the other copper companies and say, hey, what's your job description for XYZ? And they'd give it to us. He said, we did that in 2017 and the county commissioners frowned on it. So I said, oh, so they were looking it up and working on it. That was the crux of the hour meeting. Thank you.
Kyle, do you remember how much it cost to close that landfill in Shoshone?
$1,250,000.
$1,250,000?
Uh-huh. And part of that was a grant. I don't know the figures on the grant. But I did have some fun, which I always do. That's my main objective. I said, I hope that the asbestos that you placed over there is well marked, because your future employees will be digging it back up and shipping it somewhere. They frowned at me. I don't know why.
So are we currently hauling the trash out of Shoshone to Riverton's landfill?
No, it's not going, it's going to Lander still.
Going to Lander, huh?
Because the projected landfill capacity of Lander will be reached sometime between 2027 and 2028. And they do that by measurement, and so that's their idea. And then they're putting in a new transfer station that will allow them to transfer commercial and residential from Lander to Sand Draw. And at that time, that's when, probably 2025, 2026, the City Council of Riverton, one of the major players in the funding of the county's landfill, will be involved. And hopefully Kyle will have his notes and ready and everything else, because that's going to be we're going to be hauling that to ourselves, and that's going to extend our haul, and that's going to be, and I've tried to get a reparation for that, but they don't understand flexible. If the more garbage solid waste that you put in, the cost per ton goes down. Now, they refute that, but, with fixed overhead, that's the way it works.
Thanks for your time. That's a hard job. I appreciate you going and doing it.
It's fun.
Christie?
I have not had any meetings since the last meeting. We have a chamber meeting on Thursday.
Thank you. Mike?
I have not attended any other meetings also. Lindsay got more news about it. But the Boys and Girls Club award breakfast is going to be April 27th. So I wasn't able to make the meeting, but I did get the info.
Still my thunder.
Lindsay can keep going from there. She was there.
April 27th?
Yes.
So they have asked the council if we'd like to serve breakfast again for that.
Sure, I would do it. Anybody else want to do it?
I already said yes, so we're
Oh,
going.
good. We don't have to debate that.
So, yeah, again, we are cooking the breakfast, but we would appreciate your help in serving like we did before, so.
That'll be a lot of fun. It was last time. We'll be glad to help.
Okay. So that meeting was last week. Currently, we have 130 kids enrolled K through 5, which is exciting. Like you said, the breakfast is April 27th, and Rudy Rudiger will be our guest speaker. Rudy from Notre Dame.
All right.
So, very exciting. I went home and had my kids watch that movie, and now they want to come to meet him. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting to listen to him talk. The next meeting is March 14th at noon. And they also are going to set up their summer schedule, 7:30 to 5:30, for kids that need somewhere to go in the summer. So they've got a lot of fun activities planned for that. Also, Riverton is hosting the 4A West Regional Tournament this weekend. Our girls play Natrona at 9 a.m. on Thursday, and the boys play Evanston at 8 p.m. on Thursday. And it's awesome that we get to host 2 weekends in a row, since we had the 1A, 2A last weekend, bring families to town. And also, right now at the high school, there's a Riverton versus Lander dodgeball tournament, and the winner has to fly the flag of the loser has to fly the winner's flag at their school, so it's a big deal. And the Wrestler 500 is kicking off its fundraiser for the athletes at CWC. So there's a grand prize of $10,000. Tickets are $100 and get you access to the event. And that's it.
Thank you. Carla?
Your Honor, I haven't met with any committees yet. I will meet with PAWS, I believe, next week. The Engagement Committee has not met recently. We did have to postpone the rendezvous games, so hopefully we'll be rescheduling that soon. I think we only had 2 teams sign up, so get a team together and get entered, and we'll announce that as soon as we get that date set. And then I was just looking through the Riverton Ambassador's email. They always send an email of all the events going on, and one of them that Lindsay didn't mention was the National Lemonade Day, August 20th. I didn't even know there was such a thing. There's a planning meeting for that Thursday, March 10th at 5 at the Riverton Library. So.
It's kind of a
might be
big thing. It's
something
national,
fun.
it's nationwide, right?
I believe
I
so.
read an article on that that's kind of fun.
So,
Our police had to drink a lot of lemonade that day, I do believe.
other than that, that's about it for me. Thank you.
Tony?
Thank you, Your Honor. As Councilwoman Borders denoted, Riverton ambassadors have an email that goes out, and they have a meeting this coming Thursday evening. Those are conducted here, and we do attend. The mayor and I both attend regularly. The DUI Task Force Subcommittee that for policy is meeting on Thursday. The actual full DUI Task Force will meet the 31st of this month. So we have subcommittees to that, and they have different functions, and then they report back on efforts and the like. You will sometimes hear the DUI task force mentioned. There are two going on, and so we're working to title properly so we can actually differentiate. But generally speaking, the one that I'm referring to is the one that the mayor and I and the chief attend regularly, as well as the other representatives from other law enforcement and the county attorney's office. So the one this week, Thursday's a big day, is focused on policy development and options for that. I will also be attending the legislative leadership, during the session, legislative leadership for WHAM meets every Thursday morning at 7 a.m. So as opposed to once a month during the rest of the year. So we will be attending that. We continue to track the bills. In your weekly report, you have links to how you can track those bills.
That is a 5-minute meeting, isn't it?
The LLC one?
Yeah.
No. Unfortunately, it is very much so not.
Just when you get there, it's a 5-minute meeting.
Yeah. And then Idea Inc. is also that Thursday morning, so I get to go from LLC right to Idea. Idea did have its strategic planning meeting a week ago this last Friday, a week from this last Friday, sorry. So that group continues to work through its strategic planning and then continues to do its ongoing work. And it's also associated, of course, with the Depot Foundation, which everybody which council is aware of, and their function. They do hold funds, they do work with community groups, and they're very much appreciated. We did attend WHAM last week. I'll leave that one for the mayor. We had a great speaker, though. For WHAM, probably the best I'd seen in all the years I've been going to it. Then Force will be is scheduled for the 14th. RECDA is scheduled for the 23rd. And we do have a public meeting for Cowboy Lane this Thursday in these chambers that has been scheduled and advertised accordingly. Your Honor, I have no other updates.
Thank you. I did attend the DUI. I did attend the DUI meeting. I do appreciate all the law enforcement that's there. The chief accompanied us, and we had highway patrol there, and we had sheriff's department there. We had probably 6 people, maybe more, on Zoom. So we do appreciate the work that's going forward there. The Edge Committee, we attended that meeting, Tony and I, and that's an appreciated meeting. A lot of work that we get done there, and we appreciate the effort to get that money out into the community. Also went to a FTAG meeting. Those are extremely profitable meetings for me, and that's kind of a long meeting. It's not one of those 5-minute meetings, but we get all the mayors together, and we can cover a lot of space and a lot of, in about 4 hours' time. So we appreciate that meeting. Tony and I did get the opportunity. We were told on last Tuesday that the state legislature would like us to testify in front of a Senate committee on the electrical code inspector. And so we drove out of Riverton at 3 in the morning and got to Cheyenne at 8, and got to our meeting at 8 and waited for other testimony until about 9:30, only to be informed that we had to be out of the room by 9:45. And we had both sides to testify. So I think they stayed a little bit over 9:45, but was a real waste of our time. And I got an invitation to do that same thing for the DWI meeting on March 9th. So I don't think I'm going to make that drive, but I might. You never know. So that was a predisposed, and once again, in my opinion, of the situation is taking power away from local communities to make decisions for themselves, and with very, very small representation. I was impressed by one of the paper, the Riverton Ranger, put a picture in the paper of the bunch of law enforcement that was excited about the gun bill that passed out of the Senate. And one of the senators that we testified in front of was in that picture. And so that I thought was rather interesting. He's in favor of rights for individuals with gun rights, but not if you got something to plug in. So then we went to the WHAM meetings, which were extremely good. Tony alluded to those. You got to find the interesting part of WHAM. It can be elusive, and there's a lot of things happening there and a lot of moving parts. The reason that we're down there is because the legislature is in session, and there's lots of information. HDR was kind enough to invite us to their reception, and we appreciated their efforts on our behalf, and we went down and talked to some people. We have a new engineer out of the Lander office that's just doing her apprenticeship. Bobby, is that her first name? Help me with that.
Your Honor, yes, her name is Bobby Wells. She grew up on the Wind River Indian Reservation and went out to college and got a degree, and we were fortunate enough to hire her, and she's an engineer in training with us, working towards her professional engineering license. So we're really excited to have her, and she's been a great person to have on board. So.
She's going to be a real asset to us, I think, from her position there. So I hope we can romance that arrangement there. So I appreciate what you do.
Yeah, no problem. Did she get a hold of you?
Uh-huh. I got to her the next day at WHAM, and she came down. She wasn't there when I went past your booth, but they called her, and we got to make connections. So thank you very much.
Welcome.
With that said, there was, when I got back and read weekly, I saw that there was a pump replacement project that was going out Saturday morning. They would shut off the water on Sunset to the Flag subdivision, and that just piqued my interest. So no one asked me to go, but I just showed up, and that was. I never knew there was such a big vault at that location, and I got some pictures of it. Kyle's got pictures, and I think we ought to make a presentation on that. I don't know how old that valve was. Do you know by chance?
Your Honor, I don't, but our water treatment team does.
Yeah, and it weighed about 600 pounds, and there was a private company that did that work on Saturday, and they had to take the lid off that vault that was sealed. And then it was I'd say it's about 10 foot into the ground with that concrete vault. And they had to pump the water out to do their work. And there were two adjacent pumps, and so, valves, excuse me. And when they got the first valve in, they could turn the water back on. And the water was supposed to be turned back on at noon, and they didn't get it turned back on until about 12:40, but it wasn't an easy thing getting the bolts off that and getting that valve out of there. And the only thing that we did wrong was there was another valve, and one valve is blue and one valve's red. And we probably ought to try to color coordinate those a little bit better next time.
Hot and cold.
Yeah.
Your Honor, we can do brown and gold if you want.
Yeah, brown and gold would be good.
Even better.
But we ought to show the public that, that work, and I think we got enough pictures to do that. So let's get some pictures on that, and I'll share mine. And I went back, I stayed there for an hour or so, and then I went back later in the day, and they were, one of the really interesting things is you've got these two valves, and they have a different hole pattern on those, and they have to put a short piece of pipe in between them. And so they have a collar that moves on both sides, and they have to get those lined up to the bolt pattern, and then tack weld them, and then take it all apart and weld inside the pipe and outside of the pipe, and then put that back in and hope that it fits. And it did. And then the worst part is they got these great big gaskets. Do you know how big that pipe was? 20 inch?
Yeah, Your Honor, the large one was 24-inch.
24-inch pipe. And they put the gasket in, the middle gasket went in pretty easy, but the one that met up and married to the next gasket, they had to force it apart with what they called banana wedges to slip that gasket back in before they could fold it up. So pretty technical stuff, and I was glad for the opportunity to watch it. So piqued my curiosity.
Your Honor, and if it's okay, I would just love to commend Eric Wimber with our water treatment plant. He spearheaded this project. The PRV hasn't been functioning for a lot of years. And if you remember, we had the water break at the Sportsman Warehouse site, and we lost a lot of pressure in the downtown area and even up Pershing and 8th. With this now online, it improves our pressures across the zone quite a bit. And Brendan, Millie, and Eric just have done a wonderful job on it.
It really was well done, and the company that did it, their trucks had two different names on them, and they did an excellent job, and were very professional, and I appreciated the work they did. And then the other thing that was in weekly that was suggested was go take a look at the CWC Equestrian Center, and so I pay attention to what I'm told to do, so I went right up there and introduced myself, and they passed me a hard hat and let me take a tour of the facility, and they've done a great job bringing that in. And they had to put a lot of dirt. They're 8 feet above where you'd think they need to be, and they're going to extend that over to a retaining pond and a retaining wall to the backside of the Legion field. And so there's a lot of work there that they're doing. And that building came in a month early, and they've got all the steel erected, and they have all the top purlins on it, and they have the west wall siding on it already. And that building has just a little over 120,000 square feet in it. It's a big building.
Your Honor, they told me when we walked over there that we weren't allowed on the side. They didn't give us a hard hat.
You should have told them you're the mayor.
I might next time.
It was worth the tour. So, the gentleman was really nice to help us go through there, and they're working 7 days a week and rotating their crews in and out, and so they're really moving along with that. It's a lot of fun to see it. So that's all I have to report about. We do have an executive session for real estate, and the chair would entertain a motion to convene into executive session for the purpose of real estate to consider for consideration of site selection or purchase of real estate in accordance with the Wyoming statute 16-4-405 AVII.
So moved.
Second.
I don't want to write on this. You got it? Okay. And do we get to take, any of you guys want to come with us? So we'd like to invite Tony and Kristen to go into exec with us. We'll be back when we're done. entertain a motion to reconvene in regular session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. So I'm not writing on this. Are you
I got
taking
it.
care of me?
Yes, sir.
I didn't want to write on this because it's laminated.
Yeah.
And if I had a dry marker, that would be a great idea because we could.
Just give him a blank piece of paper. He
Then you can erase it. Erase the mistakes.
So we are now at action item for executive session, if any, and the chair would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I would move that we instruct staff to prepare real estate listing documents with Home Source Realty for a 4-year term.
So moved.
So we have a motion from Councilman Bailey and a second from Councilman Larson. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. If there is no opposing vote, we stand adjourned at 9:05.